Hi, my name is Rad, and I like to make that's the wrong intro. If you were to ask most people what the best feature of a Victorian house is, they'll probably say it's the bay windows, or the ornate trim and the woodwork, or maybe even the fact that there's a fireplace in every room, and I do mean every room. Yes, the toilet too. And I'm not most people, and if you ask me what the best feature of any house is, of course, it's the Cyberpunk-themed motherboard wall art installation LED light. Yeah, that. No.
Anyway,
Let's take this back to the beginning and see how with a little bit of skill and a lot of time, I managed to make something pretty rad.
In the beginning.
The initial inspiration for this came from watching the Linus Media Group office renovation a few years back, where the team painted a bunch of motherboards white and stuck them on the wall for some studio decoration. And it blew my tiny marsupial mind. It was subtle yet effective, futuristic yet reserved, evocative yet obsequious, and somehow it was a bunch of motherboards painted white and stuck on the wall. I know, but I said to myself, if it's good enough for Linus, it's good enough for me.
Except I didn't say that, because mine had to be better. But how does one improve on perfection, you ask? I don't know, lights, laser. I don't know, you've seen the intro, you know what it looks like. Let's just get on with it.
Allow me to first walk you through the dark liminal space separating the upstairs from the upstairs. The unassigned void in question is a byproduct of a partitioner built last year after getting continuous noise complaints from the occupants of the floor below me. So the wall came up, and I started off camera, spending considerable time doing the mundane but mandatory task of preparing the space for painting.
So we managed to get everything patched and sealed, so I'm happy with that, but now we need to get it painted. And I don't want to bore you with shots of me painting this, neither do I have any of the skills necessary to teach you how to do painting properly. So with all that in mind, we're just going to do this, and we can get on with the good stuff.
Oh, but I lied. The good stuff doesn't come just yet. First, I had to figure out the crucial part that was just how to attach a constellation of motherboards to a brick wall. And after exhausting all of my possible options, I got bored. So I just got a board. And a board for my board. And it wasn't the best of boards, but it's all I could afford. And no, this is not an ad for Nord, but I guess if it was, I'd probably have a better board. Anyway, on towards.
For the Horde!
If you too had a wall in desperate need of wood attached to it, here's what I used. And there I was, armed with all the tools and the courage only a mid-morning beer can provide. Now, all I had to do was measure, level, drill, circle, measure, cut, no, protect, cut, fail less, fit, drill, show off, fail, succeed, and paint.
no! God, please, no! No!
So what I initially thought was going to be a very quick job of just slapping one coat on this and getting on with my life and spray painting some other boards turned out to be a whole evening. Yes, as you can see, the first coat did nothing. The second coat was barely any better. And in the end, I ended up having to mash my sponge roller into every single crevice, that's suggestive, of this board in order to get the paint in there so it didn't look like crap. But we got there. And as you can see, the before and the after is breathtaking. Thanks, buddy. But now, for real this time, we can get on to some fun stuff and check out the
We interrupt this program to bring you boards. Boards. I got boards. Motherboards. We got boards. Not these boards. Not these boards. Motherboards. Not these boards. Not esports. Boards. Motherboards.
I didn't have enough boards. And the irony of that is not lost on me. But in order to finish the project, without acquiring any additional boards, something made very clear to me would be the last thing I do on this planet, I just had to...
The keen-eyed among you may have noticed this hanging in the background a few minutes ago. Well, we're gonna use it as a centerpiece and adapt the design around it. Luckily, this was pretty easily done, as I had not actually started designing anything yet. So I mocked up the wall space in Illustrator and began playing around with some ideas. I wanted the motherboards to have an extra visual flourish, if you will, as well as a glowing element, so I decided on making accents for the wall from UV acrylic. You can pick this up pretty easily, and most laser cutters out there will have no problem working with it, but it's worth double checking before you commit any funds. This was the first part of the project where I could have saved myself so much time by using the same design for all the RAM sticks and CPUs. But no, I was hellbent on spending a shameful amount of evenings making unique designs for every CPU cover and almost every RAM stick. On top of that, I thought it would just be a swell idea that I made some framing pieces for the artwork. And here we can see the final cut sheets. So at least now it was time for the laser dough.
Frickin' laser beam!
And while I do have a laser cutter at home, there was absolutely zero chance that it was going to even touch the 5mm perspex. So I made the best decision in this entire journey and joined my local makerspace. And that's it. Not having the skills, the money, or the fancy tools is no longer an excuse not to make something awesome. I mean rad. Something rad. Just join your local makerspace. And if there isn't one around you, move.
And now that I have everything cut out, I can finally do the obligatory shot that every maker channel on this damn site wastes their time with. Well, I hope you're happy. Now that we're done troping for the trope gods, let's move on. The initial designs mostly relied on engraving, as you can see here, but I quickly came to the conclusion that the bigger cutouts, as with these ones, read much better at a distance and provided a much bigger contrast between the different pieces. For the CPU covers, I stuck mainly with the engraving, as I had to use a lot more glue to hold these down and I didn't want a messy finish. In hindsight, however, I could have gotten away with some cutouts. Also, some more intricate engravings did not work well, so lessons learned. With everything in place, it was finally time to get gluing, and my biggest concern here was the potential for residue marks on the clear perspex. Luckily for me, salvation came in the form of UV resin. It is budget friendly, sets fast, and leaves no marks that I could find, and also all of your favorite YouTubers use it, so it must be good. I designed the RAM sticks so they would be a snug press fit into the slots of the motherboard. Doing this minimized the amount of resin I needed, and shortened the overall work time. And at this point, it was a matter of putting on a good audiobook and just getting through all of them. Keeping within the theme of the build, I was listening to Thin Air by Richard Morgan, a phenomenal sci-fi writer probably best known for the Altered Carbon series, and that one time Netflix ruined it. Okay, maybe I'm just being too harsh, and I did, in all honesty, think that Joe Kinnaman played a very good Kovac, but that's all I've got. If you disagree, I'd love to hear your take in the comments, as well as any sci-fi book recommendations, but just sci-fi, okay? Back to the project, and I thought these motherless boards could use a bit of love too. So I did the measuring and quickly threw together some segments that tie them into the rest of the wall. I also used the leftover acrylic and cut some discs that perfectly fit into the CMOS battery holders. And there they are in all of their glory, ready to go up on the wall but I feel like there's still something missing. Oh yeah, the artwork. We're missing the artwork. What happened to the artwork? There it is. Okay, so I set out to make the frame. And for this I just used a cheap wooden profile from my local big box store, cut it to size and cut the 45-degree angles, realized I made it too big because I did not accommodate for the overlap of the artwork, panicked briefly, cut it again, checked it, then glued it in place with a couple of reinforcement staples in each corner, and it worked. I successfully made a rectangle out of wood only days before buying an actual miter saw, which would have made everything so much easier. I measured out where I wanted the offset to be, and I was using the motherboard topical standoffs, which were easy to cut to size and secure to the frame using some M3 bolts. I then sprayed everything white, and if you're dumb enough to do this indoors like I did, please open the windows and wear some protective gear. The right kind of protective gear.
Nice.
After that was dry, I put the artwork in for the last time and reinforced the frame with some corner pieces and a mid-brace just to keep everything where it's supposed to be. So then came the part I was really dreading. Marking out where the standoffs would go into the acrylic, and yes, at that point I think I must have been just so gosh darn too nervous because I forgot to film the entire drilling process. But luckily, everything worked out as planned. For once, and things just lined up. All that was left was to secure the pieces to the standoffs with some UV resin, and just like that, we were on to the next step. We now arrive at the point where I figure out how to deal with concealing the LED strip, but before I could proceed with cutting any of the profile, I had to first cut into the frame in order to have it sit flush against the wall. I then cut a spare piece to bring it up to wall level and unloaded an entire nail gun clip, securing it to the wall.
Ah, foreshadowing.
Only to realize that I had cut it to the wrong size. So then this happened. Anyway, I cut it and it was all great. I painted it and filled in some gaps in the door hinges in order to ensure that there was nowhere the light could escape from, and it was time to cut the profiles. For those, I used some 90-degree pine profiles which were big enough to hide the LED track. I got these particular corner ones from Amazon, but you can pick them up from AliExpress or Temu if you're so inclined and want to save a few bucks. Then it was as easy as installing with a few screws while making sure that everything is evenly spaced from the wall using whatever you have on hand to plug those horrendous gaps you ended up with because angles are hard. And I refused to cut the same piece for the 5th time. A little filler and some paint, and my god, it doesn't even look like I've done anything in this shot. Well, I assure you, it's there. It looks fine and it will do the job. What job, you ask? The job of hiding the lights, which we haven't actually put in yet, so let's do that. I could have gone for any standard LED strip, which comes with a power supply, a remote, adhesive strip already pre-applied and, well, you know, zero headaches, but I foolishly decided to challenge myself and go a different route. Except it was
Super easy, barely an inconvenience.
as I was already an expert on everything lighting related because I watched at least 3 YouTube videos on the topic to completion. Luckily for me, these videos were made by an absolute RG beast who goes by the name of Chris Meyer. I will link his tutorial in the description, which is so easy to follow that even someone who doesn't know the difference between voltage and amperage can't mess it up. Not me, of course, but you know, someone. I was lazy and I used clips wherever possible to connect the 2 LED strips. Over here we've got the controller, and then we have the original LED strip. On the other side is the second strip, which has been spliced up there in the corner. Theoretically, it should work fine. Let's moment of truth this. Look it in. What you can't see is that it's working. And the reason why it's not lighting up all the way is because I haven't put those extra lights in on WLED. But we're fine. It works. Yes. Okay then, go away. But it didn't work, at least not how I wanted to. The lights were very weak, and on top of that I was getting some serious color change towards the end of the second strip. What I didn't know at the time was that all the answers I was seeking were in the gospel of my newfound LED deity. Another trip to his page gave me the exact step-by-step guide to inject power into the circuit, and after some very questionable soldering, I was in business. In RG biz. Okay, I'll see myself out.
Please excuse my voice. I do sound like I've been chain smoking about 6 cigarettes a day, but I'm sick. and that's it. There's nothing more to it. The first thing on. The first motherboard is on, and it looks amazing. Wow, that voice. What I'm going to do for the rest of this is probably just do a montage of me putting everything on. It's going to take a while. There's a lot of sorting out. If we look over here on this side, there is just enough space to fit one of the usual kind of like 9.5-inch motherboards. So yeah, there'll be trial and error. Come along for the ride and see where we end up.
Stop, cut the tape.
It's finished.
And the keen-eyed among you may have noticed the lengthening of my hair in the process alongside other changes in here, but I can assure you that this is completely just digital trickery and definitely not an extended period of time between finishing the project, doing a bunch of other stuff, editing the video, and no, it's not. It's magic. With all that out of the way, and before I give you the visual gratification that you so deserve, I wanted to take a second and thank all the real people sponsoring this channel on Patreon. Without your very tangible support, none of this would be possible any quicker. So if you'd like to see a preponderance of projects in the future, consider supporting the channel. And one day you, yes you, could have a chance to win a piece of history, I mean my wall. And if support is not your preferred role, then a like to the video and a sub to the channel will be rad. It'll be rad. Okay, I'm gonna shut up now, because it's time for the grand revel. So let's revel together.